When it comes to the Monster Hunter series, I think it's pretty obvious that we hunt monsters because that's the name of the title. I mean, come on, it says Monster Hunter, so we hunt monsters as part of the game. But at the same time, there's actually going to be a little bit of lore when it comes to games like these, explaining as to why you hunt down certain monsters when it comes to this game. Having said that though, in the Monster Hunter series, there are going to be some creatures that you might think, why exactly are we hunting these creatures? And you just gotta basically scratch your head and try to think about many different reasons as to why you hunt down these monsters when it comes to the game, because there's no inherent explanation as to why these monsters are being hunted when it comes to the series. And one of these monsters that a lot of people scratch their head on as to why we actually hunt it is none other than good old-fashioned thick mama, the Kulve Taroth. Now, Kulve Taroth is a monster that a lot of people scratch their heads on because they don't exactly know why we're hunting this monster. However, in this video, we're gonna explore some potential reasons as to why we actually hunt down the Kulve Taroth when it comes to Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Now let's go ahead and take a look. Hey everyone, Pinoy X here once again, back with another video for Monster Hunter World Iceborne. So after taking a trip into the mecha world of Gundam Extreme vs Maxi Boost On, I have finally returned once again into Monster Hunter World Iceborne, and today what we're gonna look into is why exactly do we hunt down the Kulve Taroth when it comes to the Iceborne expansion and even the base game. One of the key things about Kulve Taroth is that this is a monster that the Research Commission discovered quite a while ago. They tried to research it, and back in the base game, the main purpose of our current research when it comes to Kulve Taroth is to hunt this monster down, break its horns, and just try to figure out what exactly this monster needs when it comes to the Caverns of El Dorado and what effect it had in the ecosystem when it came into the new world. Having said that though, there are some hunters out there who do still scratch their heads as to why exactly we need to hunt this monster down and even slay it in the master rank difficulty when it comes to Iceborne. And in this video, we're gonna take a look at some potential reasons as to why it is that we hunt down the Kulve Taroth and even slay it when it comes to the master rank difficulty when it comes to Monster Hunter World and the Iceborne expansion. Now, if you enjoyed these videos, please consider leaving a like on the video itself and subscribing to the channel so you can go ahead and catch up on any other content that I might be doing in future. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some potential reasons as to why we hunt down Kulve Taroth when it comes to Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Okay, so to get started on this video, I'm gonna get the most common reason out of the way, and that is simply to research the monster and see just what makes the Kulve Taroth tick when it comes to Iceborne. This is the most common reason as to why we hunt and slay monsters in the game in general when it comes to the new world. This means that in comparison to previous generation games, there's actually a reason as to why we hunt down every single monster in the game, and the most common reason is research. We research every single creature in the new world, whether that be creatures from the previous generation games or new creatures exclusive to Iceborne and the base game. So we're always going to be researching monsters when it comes to this game. Now when you capture a monster and you give it back to the Research Commission, or at least the analysts and all that kind of stuff, you can kind of see this kind of blissful excitement that they get when they start to see a live specimen in the game, and you can kind of understand that a live specimen is always better than a dead specimen. And that's because of the fact that all of the bodily functions of these creatures are still working when you actually give them to the researchers for them to study. So understanding a live functioning creature is much better than giving them a dead specimen in order for them to basically do their research on. Having said that, elder dragons cannot be captured in any way, shape, or form, and it's pretty obvious at this point that the Research Commission learned their lesson in trying to capture an elder dragon, because they tried to capture Zora Magdaros, and we all know what happened there. They just went everywhere when it came to trying to capture Zora Magdaros. So yeah, trying to capture an elder dragon, impossible. Not gonna happen unless, of course, they give us something that's super powerful to capture the monster with. Now having said that, a dead elder dragon is still a specimen to research on at the end of the day. So I think one of the most common reasons as to why we slay the Kulve Taroth at this point is simply to understand why the monster behaves, what kind of bodily function it has, all of that kind of stuff for the researchers to analyze when it comes to the Kulve Taroth in general, when it comes to the Iceborne expansion. So that's one main reason as to why we hunt down the monster, and I think it's pretty common to say that this is the most obvious reason as to why we hunt down and even slay the Kulve Taroth when it comes to this game. So with the main research reason out of the way, what other reasons do we have for actually slaying the Kulve Taroth in general in the Master Rank difficulty? Well, take this into consideration. As of right now, the Kulve Taroth is actually gathering gold continuously when it comes to the Caverns of El Dorado. The way that I personally see it, the Kulve Taroth will always continuously hunt gold regardless of the situation, regardless of the dangers it carries when it comes to gathering gold underground. This means that she doesn't care as to what happens over the surface, especially if the surface collapses over her, as long as she can gather gold and move on into the next area. One of the main things that I'm thinking of is that if the Kulve Taroth continuously gathers gold in the Caverns of El Dorado, eventually the caverns themselves will collapse, and once the caverns collapses, it will create a massive sinkhole in the middle of the new world, meaning that the creatures living on the surface could potentially get destroyed or even die, and for the most part, that is a natural disaster waiting to happen. Now for me personally, I think that the Kulve Taroth is being slain for control purposes to prevent the caverns from collapsing to begin with. One of the main things that we see in the Master Rank difficulty is that she has the ability to cause the caverns to collapse underground, especially when you go into the final phase of the hunt where she collapses the caverns over the players' heads. So this means that in order to gather gold, she will be doing something like that continuously, meaning that over time, she is breaking that foundation of the new world, meaning that the surface will collapse eventually, creating a natural disaster that is going to be out of control of the Research Commission. So the best way to deal with that natural disaster from ever happening to begin with is eliminating the source, and that is none other than the Kulve Taroth herself in the new world. So that's pretty much the reason why I think we have to slay her in the Master Rank difficulty, in order to prevent a natural disaster from happening to begin with when it comes to the new world in general in the Iceborne expansion. Now we already have the research reason, and we also have the prevention of a natural disaster. What could be the final reason as to why we slay the monster when it comes to the game? The final reason that I'm thinking of is preventing her from basically interacting with any other Elder Dragons in the game and starting to absorb bioenergy. Now when it comes to the game, it's pretty obvious that Kulve Taroth was on the surface at some point, otherwise her tracks would not be in the ancient forest. Meaning that she had to go over the surface at some point before going back to her nest in the Caverns of El Dorado. One of the main reasons she was on the surface for the most part was due to the fact that when Zorah Magdaros died, it released a massive bioenergy wave that basically woke up every single Elder Dragon in the game, including the Kulve Taroth. So the Kulve Taroth went into the surface to absorb a bit of that bioenergy that the Zorah Magdaros released into the new world. So it's kind of obvious that bioenergy runs rampant when it comes to Elder Dragons, and they want a bit of that bioenergy whenever it's present in the new world. Now in this case scenario, the Kulve Taroth returned to her nest, which is super awesome because they no longer have to worry about her over the surface, but at the same time, they have to prevent her from going over the surface to basically absorb bioenergy again. Because one of the most likely case scenarios that's gonna happen is that she'll start interacting with other Elder Dragons on the surface and basically creating a potentially uncontrollable situation if left unchecked. Elder Dragons interacting with one another is not super dangerous so long as a hunter keeps it in check. We see this with Turf Wars in the game as of right now, where two Elder Dragons will interact with one another like Lunastra and Teostra, or the Kushala Daura versus Nergigante. They interact with one another, but the situation is under control because there's a hunter there to prevent it from escalating by slaying one of the monsters. But at the same time, if you left that situation unchecked, meaning that there's no hunters to prevent it from evolving even further, it could cause a massive natural disaster once again, much like that of leaving the Kulve Taroth underground to her own devices. So overall, at the end of the day, it's all about controlling that situation of a natural disaster from happening too much when it comes to the new world, hence the reason why we slay the Kulve Taroth at the end of the day. It's all about controlling the situation alongside researching the monster in order to get a better understanding as to why the monster behaves the way she does. So overall, those are the main reasons I can think of when it comes to slaying the Kulve Taroth within Monster Hunter World Iceborne in the Master Rank difficulty. Now that is pretty much it for this video, taking a look into the 3 potential reasons as to why we slay the Kulve Taroth as a research commission group when it comes to the master rank difficulty in the Iceborne expansion. Now there could be other reasons alongside the fact that we simply want her materials to craft our armor and weapons in the game, but overall this is taking a look into what could be the reasons behind the research commission slaying the monster at this point rather than simply breaking her horns. Of course, there are going to be many other reasons outside of the ones that I just mentioned, but overall, what do you think is the reason behind the research commission slaying the monster when it comes to the master rank difficulty in the Iceborne expansion? Let me know in the comments below if you think of any other reasons as to why the research commission is slaying the Kulve Taroth when it comes to Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Now that is pretty much it from me for this video. If you enjoyed these videos, please consider leaving a like on the video itself and subscribing to the channel, as well as hitting that bell icon so you can go ahead and catch up on any future Monster Hunter content that I might be doing or any other games that I might be playing in future. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Onward and upward.